Hi everybody, I'm just getting set up here for our class. We will be making this cutie, and I just want to make sure I'm actually live in the right group. Uh-oh, am I live in the right group? Yes I am, okay good. I'm just going to turn my sound on my laptop for a moment just to make sure you guys can hear me.
Yes I am,
okay. Yeah. As always, my laptop tends to be a few seconds behind me, so just always have to mute that. Always find that interesting. I have a little bit of a different setup today, so I'm going to try this. Hopefully, it won't be too bad. My camera's a little closer than I usually have it. Let's see. So we will be making this. Okay. The only problem with having my camera here is I can't see the comments. I just have to move my laptop instead. So I don't want to move my card too much. Okay. Hi Mary Pat. Hi Kim. Oh, I need to also plug my phone in. I'm like gonna be in the middle of class and my phone dies or something. Hope that doesn't disturb anything. Doesn't look like it. I'm just gonna give it a few moments and then we'll get started. I may have to move my tripod up. It's a little lower than I usually have it. It's at 90 and I usually have it a little bit of an angle higher up, but we'll start with this and hopefully I don't make you guys dizzy like I did in my last live. Hello, Wendy. Hope you guys are having a fun retreat. I'm just making one card today, but I always try and do a fun fold or technique class for when we have our retreats, just for something a little bit more than just an A2. I just like to give you guys some options. This is what's called a gatefold, interlocking gatefold card. So it'll mail flat, but when you open it, which I forgot to actually take a picture of the inside, it opens up like this, and you can decorate the inside too if you like. We may put some pattern paper behind here so you don't see my coloring. Oh good, I'm glad you're having fun, Mary Pat. I did have a few hiccups making this card, so I think I've made some changes, hopefully that we won't have some hiccups, but we might just have to go with the flow today. So what we're going to do is we're going to start making our base of our card. It's pretty simple once you see how it's done. Hi, Debbie. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Debbie. I'm going to put this aside. And we're going to start off with our base. So in the homework, it was pretty simple. You just had to cut. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that you guys can see, or I might have to move my camera up. All right. 11 inch, so just a half sheet of paper basically of 11 inch by 4 1/4. And we're gonna just score this, which I will make some notes for those who maybe come in late. Just pulling my trimmer. I do think I need to move my camera up, so just a moment guys, and hopefully I won't have a problem like the other day. Okay. Just a moment. Hopefully I won't make you guys too dizzy. Wish I could go in the middle between these two sizes, but it doesn't seem like I can. So I'll go with that. Push this back so you can't see all my mess. It's on the floor. Oh. All right, well, you guys all know it. We're all crafty, messy people, I bet. My crafty cave needs such a desperate clean. Oh, yes. See my legs too, that's great. Like I said, I just rushed to put on some clothes. Yeah, I don't know if I like this angle, but we're going to go with this for now. And I'll move it down when we go to coloring. So, everyone cut their base that's coloring along with me. I know a lot of people like to watch first and then make the card after they've watched the lesson. But if anybody needs the instructions, I will put them sort of in this chaos pile here. And I'll grab a different post-it note actually just to write down where to score. Okay, so we're going to score. Oh, this pen doesn't work either. at 2 3/4 from both ends of paper. Sorry, I should have that written down already. Okay, I always use my trimmer, probably bad. I'm gonna think one of my investments for next year is getting the trimmers that have a score tool and a trimmer. But I'm just going to line up the bottom here, 2 3/4. I'm using my bone folder and just gonna score that. And then you flip your paper over. And you score along that. Add 2 3/4. Oop. Another reason why you shouldn't use this. Do it this way. Slippery. Okay. I'm just going to put my trimmer away for now. Into the mess pile. I'm just going to back my camera up a bit too. All right. And then all you do is you fold into the center. Make sure you give it a good score. And try and keep this card as flat as you can. You may want to put like a book over top of it after it's done just to make sure it's flatter. You want to make sure that that's in the middle. Try to make sure you butt these ends up even if they're slightly off. I find my paper is slightly off sometimes. So I want to make sure they're kind of butted up really against each other. And then I'm going to score. And that gives us our gatefold. Hello, Laura. Welcome. I haven't gotten very far yet. I'm trying to keep my notes here. So what's everyone else doing today besides doing classes? I have a craft show to go to after this. My cousin is vending at a craft show here in Edmonton, and she's selling her journals. Sorry, just a second, guys. I just saw that there's still some oil from when I cleaned my stencil. I don't want to get it on anything. And I helped her yesterday, and we didn't do too bad. It was a geeky market, which was kind of nice. Everybody was all geeky and cute, and my people, probably all of your people too. And it was a lot of fun. So I'm going back there today after I'm done my class. Go visit her again, and my family's all coming out to go support her. And oh, sorry, Laura, I have it right here. So my paper it's just a half sheet, so 4 1/4 is 11 by 4 1/4, and then you score at 2 3/4 on both ends. And then when you go to fold it together, make sure it's butt up against each other. I will put instructions. I'm sorry, I totally forgot to write instructions up for the class earlier in the week. So as soon as I'm done too, I'll just type up some quick instructions. I got a new stamp cleaner, and it works really well. It gets the ink off really well, but I find it just, even with the minimal spray, it tends to spread really easily. Sorry about that. Okay. You're welcome, Laura. Oh, good, Lindsay. Just enjoy your time. Hi, Carol. I didn't see you sneak in there. Yeah, it's totally your type of people. It's in Edmonton. It's not that far from you. It's only on till 5 though, Lindsay. So I don't know if you'd have time to get there. But yeah, it's a fun Christmas geeky market, and I had lots of fun yesterday with her. We're going to take our 4 inch by 5.5 inch paper, the polka dots, and we're just going to cut this in half. Yeah, so just make sure my instructions are right before I cut it. Cut the red and white dot paper to 2.5 by 4 inch for 2 panels. So I always just double check which side is my 4 inch. That's my 4 inch. So I want to cut this to 2.5. So flip it over and then cut to 2.5. And that'll give us 2 equal pieces. Just like that. Not equal, because I must have done something wrong there. Oh no. Okay, well, let's just see. Maybe I can make this work still. Okay. I must have not had it measured properly. Okay. Well, we'll just make sure this is 2.5 too. Oh, I know what it is. You can have a little bit of extra after you cut this off. That's right. All right, I made this card like over a week ago. So just remembering things. Okay, good. Phew. You saved it, guys. It's all good. All right, so that will go here. So it's 2.5 for both pieces by 4 inches. And that'll go there. So we're just gonna glue that down. Put my trimmer out of the way. You can always flip this over, although this paper was like a full sheet of, like I think it was an igloo or something, or not an igloo, a snow globe. Although that might look cute too if you wanted to just do that instead. You could always switch it up, and kind of looks like a pond in that way, but kind of a cool graphic look if you wanted to. But I'm going to stick with the polka dots. Just pulling my glue, I'm just going to glue these panels down. Always pull out some scraps too if you didn't want to use the polka dots. You wanted to use the polka dots for something else. If you have lots of scraps from another class. But I'm just going with the paper I chose. I chose a little bit more of a simple class just because I knew I wasn't going to have as much time this weekend as I sometimes do. Sometimes I'll do 2 classes. But that's okay. I hope I teach you guys some new stuff today. And again, you can always use whatever you have at home to make this card too. So I want to try and line up the paper so that they're at the same height. Best you can. I find my cards are always a slight crookedness to it, and that's okay. Lid back on. So that will give us the front panels here. And then we'll decorate the inside. Maybe I should do it now. I'm going to do it now. And the reason why is I did it after and I found it a little bit difficult and I cracked my card. So what I did on the inside, I'm just going to pull my Misty in. This is where I'm going to put my sentiment. You can use any sentiment you want. We're going with the little dog with the dog bone and a little ball. I like that stamp also because you don't have to necessarily use it for Christmas. You could use it for like a birthday. It doesn't have to be just Christmas specific, but since this is our Christmas retreat, we're going to use the Christmassy ones. So I used Have a Doggone Great Holiday. And I'm just going to stamp that in ruby red. Oops. Yes, I use a lot of magnets in my Misty just because I hate when they move, things move. Oh, but make sure it's straight. Or put on an angle if you want something a little bit funky. Sometimes putting things on angles, you can kind of fake any mistakes too. And I'm just taking my ruby red ink. Sound pretty good the first try. Sometimes I'll double stamp, but I think in this case it looks okay. And then I'm going to pull that off, and I'm going to take one of the other puppies, or the doghouse. Actually, maybe I'll do the doghouse in this one. And I usually just stamp it in like a coordinating color. So let's do Aqua Adventure. Probably actually, I'm gonna do Aqua Adventure, and I'm actually gonna take my Fresh Fields ink too. Want almost like a teal greeny color. I'm gonna make my snowflakes in Aqua Adventure. You can layer your inks, which is nice. Nope, I have to do that again. My Fresh Fields is a little bit on the drier side, so it's not the stamp's fault, it's just I need to re-ink my ink. So yesterday, it was so hard to resist buying stuff for myself, so I am going back with my mom today to the market to go, show me what you like, and then run away so that I can go buy things for you. I'll do the opposite, because there are so many things I wanted there too, but it's too close to Christmas to be buying myself too many gifts. And everyone's always like, I don't know what crafty goodies you want and stuff like that. And I'm like, necklaces and all the things. And there's so many cute things there. So, have to go back. So I'm taking our, if you have the stencil, you don't have to use it. You could just leave it like this. I'm just going to take this stencil, and hopefully I don't have too much of that oil on it. Put it down, and I'm just going to grab a brush. Forgot to grab a big brush for that. Be right back. Need a blue. Oh, there's a blue. Taking my Aqua Adventure, I'm just going to add a little bit of ink. Just to give the inside a little bit of a decoration too. If you wanted to, yeah, that's a good idea, Lindsay. I mean, we have done that too. It's usually when I want something really like a dress or something I want really badly, and like, oh, I really want that, and Mom's like, yeah, walk away for 5 minutes. And then she goes and picks it up for me. So I don't need to be surprised. At my age, it's like, it's okay if I'm not surprised by my gifts. There, that's the inside of my card. It's nice and light, so you can still write over top of the snowflakes. Take that out of my Misty. And you may want, like I said, I find that this, I don't know if it's just the way I fold my paper, but sometimes it really wants to pop up. If you put it under something heavy, it'll settle down. So you may want to do that before you give it to somebody. All right, put that to the side. We're going to need that again in a few moments. So we do glue the front panels. Okay. Now we need to get the interlocking part done. So I did cheat from my card. I know we don't all have the same stuff, but I did grab some dies that I already had in my stash. And so just square dies, or you want something that is able to interlock together. Okay, I wouldn't, maybe I might be able to get away with round too. But I have just put these together to make a little frame, and I ran it through my machine. Now, again, you don't have to follow the exact, it doesn't have to be the exact same size as mine, but my little panel here is where we're going to be stamping and coloring on. So maybe just make sure it's close to the same dimensions. So just grab 2 square dies or frame dies. If you have some frame dies, that'll work. I'm just using my glass mat to try and line up my panel. I've already cut it out of, like I already cut the big square out of the plaid paper that has the Santas on the back. And this is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Now I just want to try and line up my middle piece and grab some tape. Like I said, if you have a frame die, that might work better for you too. And I need to flip these over because it's not that side I need to cut. There's probably better ways to do things. I just have to like visually see it and try and line things up. Like I said, most of my cards turn out not quite straight anyway. But I'm just lining these up. You can always just cut it out yourself. I'm just going to run this through. Oh, sorry. Before you do that, you want a white piece of paper too. And I am going to just glue these together first before I pop it through my die machine. This is where I'm troubleshooting from when I made my card, because I just put them through separately. But I think it's important to try and cut exactly the same dimensions on both sides. Or exactly the same angles, maybe. That's a better word for it. So I'm just adding lots of glue. You can cut them out separately, but you just want to make sure that if you do that, that you're making sure that they're exactly lined up for this project. And the reason why I'm putting a piece of cardstock behind my frame is I do find that it needs a bit of sturdiness for this project, for the gatefold to work well. Okay, so that's just glued together. I hope this is all making sense. Like I said, I will write up the instructions. Sorry I didn't do that beforehand. I'm just going to pop this through my machine. And yes, I use a lot of tape, so I don't want it shifting too much. Okay, be right back. I'm just gonna go pop that in. I think we all know how to die cut, so I'm gonna do this off camera. And you may want to run it back and forth quite a few times. Oh, yeah, it's just Post-it tape. I like it because it's easy. It usually comes off pretty clean. If you just go slow, don't go too fast, or you might rip your paper. But in general, it comes off pretty clean. I did roll this through my machine quite a few times, just so that it cut through all my layers. Tape it. I'm just ripping the tape, not the actual paper though. You can always stick it on your shirt for a few seconds just to get rid of the stickiness a little bit. You can do washi tape too, but I find the Post-it note tends to not rip things. And there, and now I got a frame. Keep this piece, because once we do our panel, we'll put this on the back and we'll put these two together. And then the back will have a pattern paper on it too. Get rid of your little scrap. Now the frame is very similar size to your smoking square stencils that you got in your package. So the biggest, like the middle one, is pretty much matches up with your second largest part of your stencil. So if you wanted to, if you're like, oh, I want the same dimensions as Patti, I don't have square, frame dies and stuff like that, you could just trace around this and then on your pattern paper and then cut that out. I'm not good at cutting. I will be the first to admit I'd rather use a die to cut things. Also not very good at lining things up, like I said, so the dies help. You also need to cut out a second piece out of your smaller square to fit your other side of your panel. And this one you can just use, I use Nina because that's what I use to color on. And it's thick. I have 130-pound paper, so it's also going to have this backing on. It's going to be very thick. One thing you may want to do before you glue anything down to your panel is just make sure these are smoothly going in together once you glue these down. You may have to take off just like the slightest bit off of it if it doesn't, which I did in my previous card because I found it wasn't going smoothly, but I think if I line up my dies okay, it will work better. So if I just pull back my card again, I think I just took off like one tiny little edge on the bottom, and that's why it's not quite equal, and that made my gatefold open up a bit better, but it's not supposed, like it's supposed to do it properly with just the dies. So if we find that we're not getting a good smooth opening, then we'll cut off a tiny little bit. For now, we can add our frame. So you want to figure out where you want to put your frame, like the middle of the card. Don't glue anything down yet. Just kind of figure out where you want to place it. And then you're only going to glue basically here, here, and here. Do not glue this side at all. And that will give you an opening flap. So if you want, you could always just open this up. Yeah. I don't have a good way of explaining how to do this. So I just kind of make sure I'm lined up and maybe just take a little pencil. Try and keep that straight, open it up, and just maybe make a tiny little line here so you know where the edge of your card is. And don't glue past that. So only glue this side. Hope that makes sense. Always erase that after if somebody sees it. I think once we fold over a card, you probably won't see it very much anyway. And I'm adding lots of glue. You can add tape instead if you want. I use Nuvo glue, so it tends to not. Okay, I'm just going to close my card again. Find where my glue is and my line is. And just making sure I'm only gluing the top and the sides. Not quite in the middle, so I'm just going to slide that up a bit. If you found that you're like, oh, I actually have a lot more glue on this, you might want to just take your finger and just de-glue it. Like take the sticky off. And I just noticed it's not very straight, so I'm just straightening it up a little bit too. Like I said, glue will squish out on mine. That's okay. I just rub it with my fingers and it tends to go away. You can always take an eraser after once it's dried. And that sometimes gets rid of the glue too. That making sense for people? I don't know if anyone's actually doing this along with me right now. If anyone has questions, as I always say, just tag me, go hashtag Patti replay, and that way I can see that you have a question and hopefully I can answer it for you in a timely way. I'm gonna let that sit and dry for a few. Put that away. Just gonna turn my glue, put my lid back on. Actually, Carla says you don't have to right away, so we'll just put it in my glue press. All right. Put those aside. Now we're going to decorate our coloring panel and we're going to stamp our stamps. I did say in the homework you do want to make a mask of the puppy with the bone and the little ball. So I'm just going to put those in frame. I just did it with fully tacked Post-it notes because those are my favorite to mask with. And I am just going to figure out where I want to place my stamps first. So I'm going to grab my Misty. Another hot tip, make sure that you don't put your magnets too close together because then they like to stick. So I just always make sure that my magnets are kind of in opposite corners. All right, so the other thing you could always do is you could always color this separately and fussy cut. Yeah, Laura, it still works. It's fine. You're going to have to grab out your dog with the bone and the ball, or you could use the paw print or whatever you want. My ball is going to be in front of my dog. So I'm going to stamp it first. And in my demo one, I had it over here, but I think I want more here. Just so it's not over the bone so much. And I'm going to stamp that in Totally Taupe, because I'm going to do no lines. Feel free to stamp in whatever color you want. If you want to do black, you can. I like non-black lines for my coloring. Stamp that. Down, put that away, and then I'm going to grab my ball mask. Make sure that's over top of it. grab the dog with the bone and just place it wherever you want it first. The ball will be in front of the bone, so wherever you place it, just remember that. And mine still's got some gorgeous scrape in it from when I made my mask, so hopefully my Totally Taupe doesn't make my dog look purple. But if it does, it'll be really light, so, and we're going to be covering it up with Copics. So the sweet snowflakes we're going to use, which we used on the inside, we can also use on this panel, is on sale this weekend if you don't have it. You can always use a different stencil that matches. And again, you can always make this not a Christmas card with this stamp. It could just be a birthday card. So that's him all stamped up. Now I am going to color my image first, and then I will use our stencils to make our background behind our little dog. Oh, okay, that looks good, I think. Just gonna pull my Misty back out. Put that away for now. Don't think I'll need it for much else. I'm just gonna grab my thing I use to stick down my images so that I don't have to move my plate so much. And I am gonna zoom in. Sorry, I just realized it's really far away. So let me zoom in. I'm going to try and angle this so you can see what I'm doing. Still struggle with that. Let's see, can I? Oh, there we go, but it's, oh. Okay, now I've got to figure out where I am on the screen. There we go. Oh no! Did you use it in a class, maybe, Mary Pat? And it's like maybe in one of the old retreat kits. Oh, I get what you mean, Laura. Sorry, I just realized what you meant by your comment. Yes, your interlocking gatefold will still work. No worries if you put it on the wrong side. Not a big deal. Yours is just facing a different way than mine, and that's totally okay. You can go either way. Sorry, I just misunderstood your comment there. Well, you could always use, do you have like that layering snow stencil, Mary Pat? You could always use that. Or you could just ink around the edges and just leave the snowflakes off if you want. That would look cute too. I was just trying to figure out a way to use our stencils that you guys got in your kit. So I'm going to push this back a little bit, just trying to find a good spot. So when I color this, I try to start with whatever is our lightest color, just like how I do with skin. I'm going to make our dog fuzzy instead of smooth, but feel free to make it smooth too. I just kind of like having a little bit of texture on there. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm just going to grab out, and I'll try and, like I said, keep my lids in place. I need to find a good spot for my lids sometimes because they're getting in the way of my shading. So things I'll watch other people and start just taking notes down. So you guys can see the 3. I'm going to move this down just a little bit because you don't need to see the edge of the edge of the panel. If I put it there, that's going to be in my way. So I'm going to put it over by the 3. That's why I like using this grid, is just so that I know where things are in here too. Oh, well then use Let It Snow. That'll work. So markers we're going to use for the fur is E31, E33, E35, and E57. It's a pretty simple beige combo, but I do like it for like a tan dog. And what I do is I'm going to start over here with his ears. I usually like to go with the ears, and I'm almost just using this like how I would for skin. But instead of like smooth, I'm going for a little bit more of a texture. So I'm kind of flicking up and going around things. So around the middle part of the ear. And I don't necessarily, with the fur, I don't always go, just stay inside the lines. I go out of the lines a little bit, and that'll give me a little bit of fur texture too. So it looks like a hot mess right now, but I just thought I'd go section by section. So that's E31, and then I'm going to jump to my darkest. And what I did with my E31 there was kind of just plan where I want my lightest fur texture. I left the tip of the ear light or with no ink on it right now. I will go back over that at the end. And now with my E57, I start at the base of the ear down here. And like I said, just flicking hair up and out a little bit too. I will go just and add a little bit around the inside of the ear there. Like I said, if you want a smooth Chihuahua, you can. I like a little bit of a fuzzy Chihuahua or Yorkie or whatever he is. To me, he looks like a Chihuahua. So then I go to my medium one, which is E35, and I'm just doing the same thing, just adding a bit of texture out. It's okay if I cover over some of that texture, but I'm just going around there. But adding those little flicks out of the base there will make it look fuzzy. Then E33, just starting at the base and working my way up and out and over. But I'm leaving a little bit of highlight right at the top there. Nice thing about hair, like fur, a lot of dogs don't have just smooth, like it can be messy. It's fine. Dogs are messy. Trust me. As a vet tech, dogs are messy. Alright, so that's my ear on that side. Then I'm going to do the same on this side. My hand might get in the way a little bit, but I'm just flicking up and over. Now normally, if I'm coloring this by myself, I will usually turn my paper. So feel free to turn your paper, get your flicks the way you want them. But just so that I'm not spinning the paper around too much on you guys, I tend to just try and keep my hand in the same spot. And go to E57. Starting at the base, and I'm just not going all the way, I'm just kind of going to the bottom and around the ear. I'm just adding flicks. And if you want a smoother one, you just add less flicks. Or you just color it all one solid color. That works too. But I like a fuzzy dog. Real life too. Going to my E33, just extending that up. Then I'll take my E31 and blend over everything. Alright, now what I did for the face is I came around, Netta always draws her eyes with like a little bit of a curve around them. And that's where I tend to leave my white spot on my eyes. So I go around the outside and I just line what she did there. And then I'm just going to do little flicks from the outside. Try to leave some space in between. But just like that. And then over his nose, I just leave a gap where the nose is, and I just add like a little U shape above it. Then for his hair, sometimes I'll start with the top of the head. And again, I am actually coming on the inside of the line and just flicking out, leaving spaces. Again, it depends on how fuzzy you want your dog. But by doing it with your lightest color, you can plan what you want to do. Like he's probably going to be fuzzier than even my previous one was. I always draw a little bit of lines in the inside of the ears, but we'll make the insides pink. But I just like to add a little bit of hair in there too. Like I said, always looks kind of strange when at first, but that's why we build up layers. So now that I know where I want kind of my hair, I go around the eye again with the darkest color. My E57. Now I'm just lining those. And then I'm just going to add just tiny little flicks from out from there. Go on top of the head again. And I'm not necessarily hitting every little line that I already made, but I'm just adding little flicks from the inside out. And you do want to vary your length a little bit. I'm being a little bit too samey, but I tend to do things in more than one layer too. I'll go over his nose. I always say you have to let the layers blend before you can judge. Because at this stage I'd be like, oh, I messed it up. It looks so weird. But once you start adding more colors in, now I'm just extending this E35 over where I just colored, but adding a little bit more this time. And now I'm just kind of doing in the lines, out the lines. I'm just doing like I would for hair, just lots of little dashes. Around his eyes. Above his nose. Make sure you go underneath here too. And if you're losing kind of the shape, you can always just add a little bit of this around the head. Just to give you a kind of a shape of the face a little bit. Once my hand's out of the way, you may see. I'm going to take my E33. And I'm going to start making sure I'm filling in some of those spots a little bit more too. But still leaving little spaces. Your E31 is going to be your lightest, so that's going to determine how dark of a dog you want. Right now we're just adding texture, and then we go over it with our E31 to blend out. And most of my texture is up here, but I am going to add a little bit of lines around the nose too. He's going to be a really fuzzy dog. Probably more fuzzy than the one I did in the sample, but that's okay. Because with the E31, you can blend it out to make it smoother. This is where the magic kind of comes in and makes it look just fuzzy, but not so wild. So now I'm taking this E31 and coating it over everything, but the inside of the eyes. So I want to keep those white as best I can. I'm going to come down here and on the outside of the eye and coming around it, kind of meeting up with the bridge of the nose. I'm just coloring around the nose. And this will help make it not look so severely spiky. Like I said, I always do 2 rounds when I'm coloring hair, so right now I'm just overly blending. That's okay if it, I lose some of that texture. And again, it still looks funny until you put in some of your darker shapes. So I'm starting to finally get into the Christmas spirit. It's been a little bit hard. We had a little bit of snow on Friday night, so that helps a little bit. I'm just going in with a second layer, just anywhere where I just want a little bit more hair. Don't have to if you like what it looks like, but I just want a little bit more dark around the face. And like I said, I'm just building up my textures. Maybe a little bit more around the ear. On the bridge, I go into the facial features now. So I'm using my E57 to draw in the nose. And then the inside eye, like where she has her circles. I'm going to make those brown too. She's got her little tongue sticking out here, so I'm leaving that. Maybe just a little bit on the bridge of the nose there too. How about you guys? Have you your tree set up? I know Kim's getting all ready. No, she's here, not still. But I usually don't set up my tree right away, so it still isn't set up yet. Honestly, I think I set up my tree more just to show you guys like ornaments and stuff that I've made, because it's kind of a fun way to display them. But I have a cat who, she's really good. I don't think she would actually knock down the tree, but I just worry about her banging things off the tree, chewing on the tree, those type of things when I'm not home. Are you all set up, Mary Pat, now? Just going in again just for a second layer, just to darken up some areas. Fortunately, I can't tell you rhyme or reason where I put my marks. Kind of just play with it until I like how it looks. But I do think adding a second layer just helps smooth it out a little bit and adds a little bit more of a shadows where I want the shadows. Sorry. Thanks, Danielle. I didn't even see you come in. Hope your Sunday's going well. Hope work's not been too crazy for you. It's been a little bit crazy for me. I started a new job. Most of you know that already, I think. And it's a lot busier clinic than I'm used to. So it is a go, 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 go all day type clinic. I love my staff. They're all sweet. But I'm not quite used to the pace that we have to do things at. So I tend to come home just tired. So I just have to figure out. But I really want to be creative. It's just finding it's been a bit of a struggle. But we're going to have a tiny little break and that'll help. So there's his Spikies. He's a very fuzzy dog. And I let that sit. And another secret is you can always add white hair in there. Oh, I didn't know that, Mary Pat. Well, if it makes you happy, that's great. I mean, Christmas is such a fun time of year. And I'm usually like, oh, I like Christmas. The last couple of years have been a little bit less of a case for some reason. So, I don't know if it's since my dad passed, if I'm just feeling it like that, or what's going on. I'm going to make his back here behind his leg darker. But I want to keep his belly pretty light, so I'm just going to take my E31 and I'm going to leave white here. But I'm going to come around his leg and up. We have to color his little tongue too, that'll help. And then this is going to be dark, but I do want still some color obviously in his leg. So I'm going to come up and leave a gap between his body and his leg. Just so that I can make this dark, but it's not competing with this darkness. You'll see in a second. Same with down here. I just go over his little toes and leave a little gap. I'll move my hand out of the way so hopefully you can see. Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it. He actually kind of looks like a Pomeranian right now because he's so fuzzy, and that's fine. That's the beauty of these stamps we can make him whatever dog breed we want. So I'm going to take my darkest now and just kind of go exactly where I just went. Not extending all the way up, but I'm going to go back here behind the leg and around the bone. I'll move my hand out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. I'm almost lining it, but then I'm just going to add little flicks up from there. Same with over here. As it is behind the leg, I'm making sure that there's a big shadow line there. Just to give us some dimension from this part, And then I'm going to go into his little feet. And I'm going to just basically, I am now more lining things and then adding little strokes from there. And I say his feet aren't going to be as fuzzy as his head. Because usually it is smoother in dogs. We're not going to color it on his belly though. Leave that. We'll do that last. We want to make sure we get our darks in first so that when we go to put our light in, we know we're not overdoing it. So going to my E35 and I'm just following the strokes I just made on his back. Coming down and around. I'm going to come over here. I think his legs are going to be a little darker than I had in my original one, but that's okay. I am coming all the way down to the bottom of the toes on there. I'll add the little lines back in for the individual feet after. So I made it a little dark. That's what I wanted. Thanks, Margaret. Coming up here. Again, adding a lot back here because that's in shadow. Well, his little legs are going to be pretty dark. Not quite what I wanted, but it's okay. So I'm taking my E31, I'm just coloring over everything on the legs now, including that little gap I left. I know it looks strange right now, but it will look better once we add some more in here. Like I said, sometimes you have to do 2 layers to actually really understand what you're looking at. And I am trying to blend it a little bit because I made it so dark. Now I'm going to take my E57 and I'm going to basically use it to draw in back in his little toes. So I come down and across and just adding a little bit of flicks of hair just to make sure that that matches. And I'm coming across and adding those toes back in. Best I can. You may want to grab the stamp set just to see where the Netta left her lines. I don't like this right here right now. So we are going to blend with a darker color over there, but not E57 because it's going to compete with the back here. And it'll be just one big blob. So I'll probably do E33 over there. Now I'm just blending that out now with my E35. Worst case, if you really lose the toes, like I might have lost the toes here, I'll just go in and draw them in with a pen after. Or you could take E49. I like this toe leg's okay. I'm finding this one looks a little strange, so let's add that in. Let's add a little bit more of this color. Streaks back here. And it might look better once I color in the chest part too. The other thing you could do is white gel pen. I'm going to make white gel pen for his toes. Just blending that out. Here I go saying, don't judge your art until you're done, and I'm doing it. So, all right. So now this chest piece, you're going to want to go around the tongue. You can even color in the tongue first, but I'm just going around it just to make sure I don't accidentally color it. And then from down here near the bone, I'm just going to add little streaks up from the bone, little streaks down. And I'm trying to leave white here. If you don't, you can use a gel pen. And I'm going to use this color to color his tail too. And his tongue and his inside of his ears, I'm going to do an E93. I'm just going to do one coat of it. I like this color for tongues and ears. Just kind of a nice pink, but it's got a little bit of a brown tone to it. It's almost like more of a peach color, which I like. If you lose dimension in the chest, you definitely can take your white gel pen, which I need to use anyway. And I'm just going to add little streaks up from there in the middle. And I'll make it look like fur. I'm going to come on the inside of my eye here because it got a little bit messy. And I'm just going to make sure that my whites of my eye is white. It's kind of like you're secretly drawing back in the white part of the eye. And I'll make them pop too. And then I'm just going to add a little bit on the inside of his nose there. Just give him a little bit of a highlight on his nose. Sometimes I'll add a little streaks in his ears. Now I have to decide if I want to use this for his toes. I think I will. So I'm using a size 10, which is not ideal for drawing thin lines, but I just, unfortunately, my 8s are all clogged. Need to buy some new ones. So here it is. He's all fuzzy wuzzy. Now we just need to color the bone and the ball. And in my sample, I didn't like how I colored the bone. So I'm going to do it in alternating red and greens. So I'm just going to take my lightest red and my lightest green. And I am just going to start with that. So I'm taking my G12 and I'm planning where I want my greens. And I'm just going to color the whole section green there. I'll do a green one here. It's funny because I don't really like red and green together, but I just felt like I needed it for the paper I chose, so it's okay. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean somebody else won't like it. It's like, Delise isn't here. I think she's probably getting ready for her class. She's starting to love purple, but we always make her do purple for her stuff, and she's not a big purple fan. So just because I'm not a red and green fan together doesn't mean I won't use it. And I might even just leave it with that G12. We'll see. See once I add the red in. Just because I like how light that G12 is. More of like a mint color. And I'm just taking my darkest, or sorry, my red, which is R24, is my lightest red. Sorry, not my darkest. And I'm just adding that in. And it's basically just figuring out where I want my colors. Now just remember, red can bleed quite a bit. So you want to not do too many layers of that right the second until you let the previous layer dry. Let's see. But by doing your lightest colors first, you can decide how much dark you want around your stripes on your bone. All right. So, what do I want to do for the ball? What do I have left? Maybe I'll just make the ball a green color. Like a dark green. And I'm going to keep the stripes on the ball light. I think just so I'm not pulling any other colors for you. Now this ball has stripes, but I'm going to ignore it. That is the one thing about doing no lines, is you can make it your own. No one's going to see the lines underneath. So what I'm going to do is we're going to leave a gap where the line for the outside is. So I'll show you. Going with my darkest here just to plan it out. You could have taken your light color to kind of plan this out first too. And I'm going to come around the top. And then I'm just making sure that one side is way darker than the other. And that'll make the ball look really round. You know what? Actually, I'm just leaving a gap on the top here and changing my mind. I am actually going to come all the way around the bottom. Or, sorry, all the way around the left side here. Sorry, again, when my hands are out of the way, it'll make more sense to you. It's almost like a C shape. But again, leaving a gap up here where it's touching the bone. Then I am going to take my G19 and I'm just going to extend that up and over on the inside of the ball, not on the outside. And then my lightest is G17 to the inside. And then coming around that outside edge too. And by outside edge, I just mean like inside the ball still. Yeah, I like that better than what I did in my sample one. Now, I do find this bone is a little flat, so I am going to add, now that it's dried a little bit, I'm going to start with my reds, and I'm going to start adding my dark in. So I'm taking R89, and I am just going to come around the outside of the bone, not the outside of the bone, move my hand, just at the bottom, I guess, of the stripe. Extend that up a bit. Where the edge meets the green, I'm adding just a tiny bit. I'm not going all the way on the edge. I'm just going to add a little bit of that. Same with over here, just a little bit. Don't want too much of this dark red because then it's going to compete with the green, dark green here. I'm just shaping out my bone a little bit. R89 is very strong, so you only want a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. All right, 39. Thank you everyone who's sticking with me, and this part's the little slower part. But I hope some of the tips on how to bake fuzzy fur helps. I want to try and leave a lot R24 in the middle there. The other thing you can do for shading, if you didn't have R89, you always add a little bit of brown into your reds, or even black. And it really makes red pop. And I'm just going back over with my R24 to blend. I do find red is hard to blend. So again, you may want to do more than one layer. I don't want to take all day because we've got another class starting shortly, so I might not necessarily go and jump right to doing multiple layers on here. What do you guys think? Should I maybe shade the green on the stripes on there? I don't want it to compete with my ball that I made, but it is looking flat. Just trying to decide. I think I will, but I'm just going to go to G19. I'm just using G19 and G12 because I want to keep it really light, but I want a little bit of dimension on this. So I'm just adding just a little bit, just like I did for the reds, just around the bottom side here. A little bit up here and around that foot. So that foot would be casting a shadow. A little bit around this foot. And then again, taking G12 and blending that out. Normally this ball would be casting a shadow onto this stripe here, but because I went green and green against each other, I don't really want it to blend all together. Okay. And then I just take a gel pen and I'm just going to add a little bit of a shine on the ball here. Just make it look shiny. And then I like to add a little bit of shine kind of where things curve. I'm going over the red and the green here. Just going to make it look like it's got shine on the packaging too. Alright, the other thing I do with the face is I usually add little white dots. That's just kind of my trademark on faces. You don't have to, but I make them look like he's got a little bit of freckles. If there's anywhere where you thought, oh, that's looking kind of dark and you don't like it, you can just add little streaks of white. Gonna make him look almost like he's got a little bit of, because dogs have whiskers too. You always do a little bit of whiskers coming from his nose, but I'm gonna leave that because when I do that, it doesn't always work. But I just put a tiny bit around both sides of his face there. Just add a bit of a highlight. All right, so he's now colored up. Now we're gonna grab our stencils. Put that out of the way. And I'm just gonna pull back in my sample here. On here, you may have noticed that it's not very even. So I'm going to be a little bit more careful. Oh, sorry, you guys can't see what I'm talking about. A bit more like this side's way, like it's off center by a lot. Oh, keep forgetting to move my camera. I'm going to try and zoom out just a little bit here. Again, I'm okay with it not being perfect because we are not Hallmark. This is not machine produced. In a way, sometimes keeping in a little bit of perfection means that people will know it's handmade and not think it's somebody just, you know, purchased a card. They'll know it's handmade if it's not perfect. I'm just going to pull in where I just colored. Where did he go? He's under here. And show you he's a little bit darker than my original one. Oh, I forgot to add the highlights in his eyes too. I was like, I like to bring in my previous one just to see what did I do. I do feel like he needs a bit of highlight in his eyes. There we go. But they're pretty similar, just a little bit. Oh, thanks, Lindsay. It's practice. It just takes practice. Coloring, I've been doing it for a long time, and I never thought I'd get to a level where I could do no line coloring. I'd see people do it all the time and be like, how did they make that look so cool like that? And it just took practice. So we're going to pull out our stencils. Again, if you don't have the same stencil as me, that's fine. Just grab one of your stencils, and we're going to do some masking here. I am going to pull in my magnetic mat, I think. Maybe. Here. It's my big one. Where's my small one? Probably stuck to something else. Like I said, my craft area is a disaster right now, so I need to take a few months. That's probably also what's making me have a little bit of not getting as much creative time as I'd like. Is also just everywhere. Things are everywhere. So I'm going to reset in the future here and try some new things next year. What I'm going to do is I am just lining up my smoking squares, which you would have got in your retreat kit. You can always take tape instead if you want, but since we have our stencil, might as well use it. Just going to put that there. I'm going to try and line this up better than I did the other day. And I'm going for the next size down. And I'm just going to try and line everything up straight as best I can. I'm going to put my magnets in the corners. One down here. And I'm going to grab some blending tools. Now, when I did my sample, I meant to make it more mint. And it turned out very green. On the background, I'll pull it out again. This looks very green. It is actually Aqua Adventure, but I had some green in my brush, so it made it look almost like not quite the color I wanted. So I'm going to try Aqua Adventure again, but I will say, I know I put it in there, so I'm going to use it. But if you want to match more of the stripes, like this stripes in here, you may actually want to pull in Salty Sea. But it's okay. I'm going to just stick to what I have, which is Aqua Adventure. I'm going to grab my blending brush. I have a nice clean one, so hopefully I won't have as much issues. My Nina paper likes to absorb ink a lot. So you do, like if you're using the Nina paper to color on or express it, you may want to just blend like softly to begin with and work your layers up. Oh, sorry. Don't do that yet. Put your masks on. That's why we made them. So that way I don't go over all of my coloring. Luckily it's a light ink, so because I made my hair a little spiky, some of it's going to pop out. That's fine. It's dark, so nobody's going to see it, that you blended over it. And grab my little ball and make sure that's covered up too. Okay. Now I'm going to blend. You may want to blend before you color. That's probably a smarter move. So if you're doing this class later and you're like, no, I didn't like how that looked, I think she should have probably blended the background before she colored. You totally can, because our inks are Copic friendly, so it won't smear. And I'm just kind of going around the outside. I'm always heavy-handed with my stenciling. It just always seems to happen. This is looking like the color I wanted to do it the other day, so it's definitely because I had too much green on my brush. Some of my brushes need to go have a bath. I'm mostly trying to keep the outside green, or darker. But it's okay if it blends into the image too, like I said. And I'm okay if some areas are darker than others. Oops. Sorry, it's probably wiggling like crazy. A little ball mask is not sticking very well just because I did use it on my previous card. Okay. You can always just take a sneak peek, see if you like that. Do you want to try and keep your stencil in the same spot? I do. So we're just going to leave that in place. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull in my sweet snowflakes. And I'm just going to line it up where my square is. And I kind of just try and find where the smaller snowflakes are. I just like them better for smaller areas. And this way we're not going to get snowflakes outside of our little square that we just made. And do I want to do ruby red again or fresh fields? I know neither color what snowflakes are, but I'm going for whimsical. What do you guys want? Whoever says the first thing will be the first thing I grab. Red or green for my snowflakes? Oh, I'm still alive. Okay, good. I know everyone's probably busy working on things. Right, thanks, Mary Pat. So red it is. Oh, and Laura agrees. So go with that. Okay, everyone seems to be in agreement. So we'll go with red. And again, as long as you have your masks on, you can go over top of everything, right? And this is also why you want to be a little bit light-handed with your ink if you're going to do double stenciling. Is so that your ink actually looks red still when you put it on top of the aqua. The other thing you could do is you could always get white pigment ink, make them look like more like snowflakes. But I'm okay with red snowflakes. It just makes it look like we have a pattern background. Okay. Glad you guys were all in agreement. That made it easy. All right. So we pull out this mask that we had for smoking squares, and we pull this mask off. And then you take the mask off. This is always the magic I find with masking. Everything should be colored. I like that. Oops, sorry, that's an awful sound. And honestly, I'm still a bit off center, but not as bad as my previous one, so I'm happy with it. Okay. Put those away, but that's how you can always make a card with your smoking squares. You could always, you want to do maybe a slim line and you go, okay, I want to make this red, and then I put one down here and I make this one in blue and this one in green, and that would look really cute too. I think the smoking square stencil, once you play with it, it's actually it's a lot of helpful. Plus you got the masks too. So if you decided you wanted this part colored and not the inside, you could always just put the mask down and color this a different color as well. But I like having a little bit of white border. Now, I'm going to pop back our card. We're almost done. This is the part where you have to see, is this, without gluing, is this going to fit okay? And it should, because I put it in with dies instead of cutting out myself. But if you find that when you open it up, it's sticking or it's not moving smoothly against each other, you just cut like this tiniest little slip off. And because I'm a little bit lower here, I just cut like a tiny bit up here. Like not even 1/8, as small as you can. And that'll just give you enough budge room so that when it's in its thing, it'll move smoother. But I'm going to leave it the way it is. But now what I need to do is, my frame is not straight, I just noticed. That's okay. Is I just need to figure out where I want this to sit. This time, you're going to only glue from basically here to here. You're only gluing this half. Or if you're like, if you did this opposite and you put your frame on this side, you're gluing this part. Basically, you only want to glue where they're touching. But I also want to make sure this lines up properly. So I'm just going to make sure I hold it in place. And maybe what I do is I'll grab some of that Post-it tape I have. It's where the troubleshooting for my card, previous card, wasn't the best at. So I want to make sure that I'm trying to do it properly for the class. I'm going to grab this Post-it tape and basically make sure that I keep that part down. I'll lift up, aha, like that. If you're not sure if it's going to hold straight, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to make this a flap that you can do this. And add my glue to the inside. We'll take the post off. So you could always just glue onto the card base too. Hold that down. Take my Post-it off. I need to just erase my little lines I made there. Also, hot tip, your sand eraser is your friend if you go outside your lines with ink and you can't figure out a way to cover it. Or like on my little guy here, got a little bit of white gel pen on his face. You can use that just to smear his eyes. Come in and just get as close to my eye as I can. And I might just grab my white gel pen while I'm waiting. And just draw that a little bit bigger, just to hide where I messed up. Now I'm just holding this in place right now, just to make sure my glue is dry. Okay, so now this should line up and close together. Like I said, you may want to have a book on top of this just to hold it flatter. I don't know why my paper just likes to do this. So that, or it doesn't matter, but they can display the card kind of like this or flat. But it's just kind of something fun and different than just a regular A2. So the other thing in your kits that I got was I got the little snowman with his scarf. And I got a little tree, outdoor tree. And I decided to put them in opposite corners. The other thing, if you're making this card, I will mention, you do want to try and keep this layer flat. So I wouldn't necessarily put 3D things on there because they might catch. But you could add 3D dots to the back of here, which I think I will. Just nowhere where the frame is touching the other, oh, I just remembered something. Okay. One thing I forgot to do was I forgot to add the piece that I cut out with my machine that had the pattern paper. This piece. Just pull it into frame here. I was going to add that to the back of this. So you know what? I still am. It's just going to cover this part, which is fine. We'll just say that was intentional. But that'll just hide the fact that you can see my coloring. And as long, oh, my cat's getting hyper. As long as the edges meet up and you're not overlapping too much on the outside, it should be fine. So just make sure my closer still works. Oh, you can see that it's not quite. Okay, it's a tighter fit now, but that's okay. Still closes and it still opens. Okay. Just grab another dot. Thank you, Mary Pat. I hope you try it. And hey, if you figure out things that you're like, this worked out better, Patty, just let me know. I mean, I can always learn from doing these projects, but I can always learn maybe simpler ways to do things too if people figure them out. I was following a tutorial online, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we had the same supplies too, so. I'm just adding some really low tack foam tape to this. Foam dots, I mean. Side. What time is it? 12:21? Okay. I'm trying to be done here by 12:30, guys. We're almost done. Just add a little bit of dimension to that. You can always keep these for something else if you thought, oh, I don't necessarily want to add those to the card, but because mine came in my kits, I'm going to use them. Plus, it just gives something more Christmassy on the front of the card. Thanks, Mary Pat. Also, I do have an album in the group under Class 10, so if you do make this card or you make something similar to it, feel free to post in there, and I'll make sure to keep an eye on those and give you guys comments. And I'm just tucking him on the opposite corner. May want to move him down a little bit so his hat's not sticking out, so that if you send it in the mail, that's not going to bunch up. But it's stuck down now, so he's going to stay there. I know you guys got a whole bunch of gems in your kit. I don't know if you use them all in your classes, but I have these ones. I think they're similar. Might even be the same ones. And I'm just going to add a little snowball one down here. And I'm going to take a red and gold one. And I like to kind of put it in the middle of his scarf there. Almost like he's got a button on his scarf holding his scarf together. There. And again, the more you play with it, the more this will open and close too better. But now we got a gatefold interlocking card. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to tag me, tag Patti, #replay, and I will make sure to try and answer those questions as soon as I can. I will put instructions on how I made this card online too. Again, sorry I haven't done that yet. I realized I didn't do that yesterday and just ran out of time today. But I will get those up shortly as well, so that if you want to remake this card, you can. Thanks, Laura. I appreciate it. I will have fun at the market, Lindsay. I'm going to go spend money, but hopefully on people, not myself. You're welcome, Mary Pat. Thank you, Debbie. Have a lovely Sunday, everyone. And I know Delise is up next in about half an hour. And she's called Allie Delise on our Facebook group, but is Delise, in case you wonder why she has two names on there. And I believe she's using the same stamp set. So she'll show you yet another card to make. Have a great weekend, everybody.